Deep down, I can't shake this feeling that there's something wrong with the gaming industry in whole. And yesterday's news with Xbox shutting down Arcane, Tango, and other studios, I have to say, this continues to feed into that belief system. But hello, everyone, and welcome to another No Rest for the Wicked video. This is going to be a positive video because in today's video, we're going to dive into the patch that is starting to take shape. The developers are starting to share what we can expect from the next patch, and this has me really excited. So that's what we're going to explore in today's news section. Also, the devs weigh in on the state of the industry and these layoffs. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to open this show up with that line, is because the devs kind of play into it. There's some really positive things that could spin out of it, but they also share their insights as opposed to the general knee-jerk reaction that we tend to see on Twitter. So we're going to explore that topic in our community discussion section, and then we have a couple of community Q&As at the end of this video. So thank you so much. But let's dive into why you clicked on this video in the first place. Thomas retweeting the breaking Xbox shutting down Arcane Austin tweet from Jason Schreier, saying, "To everyone who has been pestering me for years about why we didn't allow Moon Studios to get acquired by a big publisher, that's why. I've lived through the 90s and saw what happened when these smaller studios got acquired by EA, and never again." And then he goes on to kind of meme on the situation in terms of his own tweet, saying, "I'm the CEO, bitch," from that kind of image. And this is going to come back here in just a minute. He then goes on to clarify to everyone at Arcane Studios and Tango Gameworks who just lost their jobs, hey, Moon Game Studios is looking for rockstar devs that are hungry and passionate and would love to contribute to Wicked Games. So again, feel free to send your resume to jobs@moongamestudios.com. If you're amazingly talented, come join the family. Gerendy retweets Thomas's tweet, says, "Less tweeting, more bug fixing, please." And to which Thomas generously replies, or humorously replies, that he's the CEO in this case. I thought this was a fun little playful thing that was going on from these two, and that's why I wanted to start today's video off with it. Wanted to say again, thank you to all of you guys who've taken a chance on the channel and hit that subscribe button. I want to earn your sub, and if I do, be sure to sound off in the comments so I can welcome you to the channel. And also, thank you so much for the likes. Every time I see a video hit over 500 likes, it literally is mind-blowing to me. So thank you so much for the support of the content. But let's dive into what's going to be included in the next patch. Michael writes, "On the note in the video for trying out new weapons, do you think that in the future you will rethink the stat requirements on weapons? As I, for example, would love to try out some of the movesets of weapons, but of course, if they don't fit my stats, I just really can't." And Thomas says, "The upcoming patch will feature try before you buy, which means that you'll be able to equip weapons even if you don't have the required attributes yet, but at less efficiency until you meet the attribute requirements." I really am excited for that. That is now what I would say confirmed for the next patch. And if you guys are new to the channel or you haven't heard me say it, I'm a software developer myself, and that is what I try to bring to these videos and these discussions, setting expectations, breaking down the development process, using the words they say to infer what kind of development process they're using. And so ultimately, if the patch comes out this week, that will be exciting and I won't be complaining. But ultimately, I think they're on that 2-week sprint cycle, which is going to give them the best foot and the best chance of succeeding. And then also for us, the players, making each patch even more significant rather than just one thing or two things. A 2-week cycle allows them to make more progress overall and have a stable or a more accurate and less buggy release. Now, Mikkel writes, "This feature sounds great, but I can't wait. Any chance that Steam Deck crashing is also going to be fixed in the near future? I know about the butter workaround, but really hoping for a more native fix. By the way, the game is absolutely wonderful." Thomas says, "Our tech team is working on several memory issues, so the next patch should be quite a lot better already. And this kind of tends to make me think that that will address the Steam Deck issue. I played a little bit on Steam Deck. I generally more or less play on GeForce Now, which gives me that high-end PC gaming experience, but I do have it on the Steam Deck, and so far I haven't run into any issues, but I haven't been, hardcore playing it on Steam Deck because GeForce Now, I think, just overperforms, especially in terms of battery. Playing any game on locally will drain the battery much, much faster. Then Thomas goes and writes, some insight of what we've been discussing recently. I think this one's important. One of the bigger changes that Kevin Jordan Fale has been pushing for is a talent tree. Now, quite a lot of people brought up that they'd like to see more depth from our attribute system, and while we could add a bit to this that to it, we currently investigating it if it would be better to just allow even more depth by switching the attribute system to a talent tree entirely. What this would mean is that upon leveling, instead of just putting a point into this or that attribute, you'd pick from one of the various talents so that we could get even more build diversity than just the attribute system would ever allow for. This way, people would play multiple EG strength builds and that all max out with different specializations. Would love to hear your thoughts. Now, I weigh in on this. I actually like how the stat system works, but I'm not opposed to a tree system. I think those would be really cool to see in tandem because I like how that works. Now, you can obviously weigh in with your own thoughts and be sure to do so. He's looking for feedback on the system. I think it would be fun to have both systems in place, more character level progression, and obviously talent trees would be an interesting choice, especially as it relates to what we're all sitting back and waiting for is the respec option to make its way into the game so we can start really customizing out our builds once you hit that level cap. But guys, that's basically what we see here in the near term. I don't know when we're going to see skill trees or talent trees brought into the game, but the fact that they're talking about it now would roughly be part of the design phase. So I would start to put maybe some of those system changes 6 months out at a minimum, and if they deliver it much faster, then all the power to them. They could have already toyed around with this in their development cycle in the past, so it might just be a matter of bringing that back into a UX experience, but we'll ultimately have to wait and see. Anyhow, the last part of the community discussion of this video is obviously tying back into the layoffs and the studio closures from yesterday. Now, Thomas writes, and he obviously, is looking to hire any of the people who are affected, and anytime somebody gets laid off, it sucks, right? Like it sucks. But at the end of the day, like there is this performative nature that we see happen on Twitter. And I guess that's, maybe the reason why Twitter, its core function of attention. But obviously people are very upset by the news. Thomas has kind of a more nuanced take, and that's why I wanted to feature it here for you guys today. Thomas says, I've been in the industry long enough to have seen how things unfold from both sides, and I'm honestly not a fan of all the outrage culture that we've created these days. Hear me out for a second. I know it's a little, it's of little comfort to people who have lost their jobs today, but I think press especially has to be very careful about how they write their articles, especially if they don't have good sources or just don't know exactly what's going on. And let's be frank, they usually don't. I don't have all the information on what unfolded today regarding Microsoft shuttering down studios while thrashing publishers in your reports will absolutely generate clicks for you. It's entirely possible, and I'd say even more likely, that there have been inner dealings for a while that reasonably explain the situation. I've rarely seen discussions being made on this scale that just make absolutely no sense. It could very well be that Microsoft already had prior discussions with these studios and decisions were made to shutter these studios in order to let them reform in a more efficient way, only to make deals with these new ventures again. Let's take Tango Gameworks for example. They just made an excellent Hi-Fi Rush, which everyone rightfully loved. And maybe the way to make more of that stuff is for the core team to form a new venture so that they can focus in on making more of just that, but not within the likely bloated setup that they had before. Now, I'm obviously just speculating and I don't have any inside information, but something like this seems entirely plausible to me. And if something like this is the case, Is it a way for press is to deal with this idea or this ideal? The news headlines are, oh my gosh, evil publisher destroys studio that made hit game out of pure greed. While in my scenario, if my scenario is true, the truth could be publisher made smart business decision to let studio make more of the product everyone loved with more efficient setup. See the difference? Yes, the former will absolutely generate more clicks for you, but the latter is true. The former also makes you look like you're just feeding the outraged mob for your own personal gain. And look at it from the publisher's perspective. Everyone loved Highr Rush, and there's obviously great potential there. The talent behind Highr Rush could most likely create a similar title at a larger scale now, making an even better, more complex product. I'm sure plenty of publishers out there would be interested in that offering because guess what? That could make them a lot more money. Do you all really just assume that Microsoft is completely dumb, happy to burn bridges with talented developers that could then immediately make deals with the competition? I mean, it might be in that case, but usually when these dealings happen on a somewhat more sophisticated level, real life is chess, not checkers. Nikki follows up this discussion with this question. Could you say the same logic would apply to Private Division and T2? And he says, it applies to every publisher out there. Publishers are out there to make money. They do not burn bridges easily, and they are interested in partnering with talented developers that could end up making them lots of money. Here's the lesson. Here's the life lesson for everybody out there listening to these words. You will get laid off in your lifetime. This becomes a real tragedy, is that if you are eyeballs deep into your debt, because then all of a sudden you're like, how can I afford to pay my car and this and that? That's why for me, I always recommend Dave Ramsey. He helped me pay off over $100,000 in debt. I now live debt free. And yes, I have been laid off and lost different jobs. And it's not as bad a tragedy because I don't owe anybody any money. And so I could actually scale down dramatically while I looked for a new job. And thankfully, that is something that as a career as a developer has been very well done. I think there is a massive amount of people out there who bought into the lie that you can get rich off of debt because that's the exception and not the rule. Generally speaking, debt is going to keep you down. It's going to rob you of your wealth building. It's going to steal your future away because that's what you're doing. You're just borrowing from yourself in the future, and that sucks. And I know there's people out there suffering. I was in that category, and it took really buying in to the process of paying off debt to get free from that. So that's what I would encourage you, because guess what, guys? This will happen to you. These companies exist to make money. And any company that tells you that they're not there to make money is lying to you. And they want to lie to you to get you to buy in to this idea so you work for less. And I would want to always encourage you guys to value your time and your skills correctly. Don't settle. It's your time. It's your life. You got to fight for it. And I just want to encourage you guys to take that stand and fight for your rights and for your future and the dreams that you have. Right? They're not going to just come together. No one's going to just give them to you. You literally got to pick up the stick and go with it. But anyway, that's that piece that I wanted to kind of talk about. Finally, let's wrap up today's video with a community Q&A. Michael writes, nice to hear, but when is Chapter 2 coming out? Most bugs are out of the way, and the game is fine, but what about that eternal narrative? And Chapter 2, in this case, most likely will be coming sometime after the first Milestone update of the multiplayer update. Speaking of which, Ozzy says, will they add co-op play? And the answer is yes. And in fact, that's the first Milestone update. Second Milestone update is more areas in story and narrative, and that doesn't mean that more updates won't be included in the multiplayer update in itself. It's just going to be a function of time with that. So as those updates start taking shape, I'm going to be sure to give you guys the coverage and the news, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and your questions on these videos. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. Hopefully you enjoyed. Special shout out to the members on the channel. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope that you guys enjoy all the various different perks that are offered here at Ginger Prime. If you guys want to support the content for free, you can always hit that like button, as it's a great way of helping out the videos and helping them reach bigger audiences. And outside of that, if you guys want to find any of the affiliate deals that I have you can check the links in the description, as that will get you there. And that supports me and the family directly because of that. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here. For Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care.